My name is Rusty Alonzo, and I thought I knew my wife. 7 years of marriage, a beautiful daughter named Emma, a mortgage in the suburbs of Portland, Oregon, and weekend barbecues with neighbors who waved from their driveways. Life felt predictable in the way people say it should. Stable, safe, normal. But normal is just a word we use to describe the lies we haven't discovered yet. The day my daughter handed me a crayon drawing with trembling hands, everything I believed about my family shattered like glass under a hammer. That picture wasn't just scribbles on construction paper. It was a confession, a cry for help, a secret my 5-year-old had been carrying alone because she didn't have the words to tell me what was happening when I wasn't home. When I finally understood what I was looking at, my hands went numb, my throat closed, and I did something I never imagined I'd have to do. I called the police on the woman I married. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. It started on a Thursday afternoon in late September, the kind of day where the sky hangs low and gray and the air smells like wet pavement and dying leaves. I was working from home that day, hunched over my laptop in the spare bedroom we'd converted into an office. I'm a freelance graphic designer, which sounds fancier than it is. Most days, I'm just churning out logo revisions for startups that'll be bankrupt in 6 months, or designing flyers for local businesses that still think Comic Sans is acceptable. The work pays the bills, barely, but it gave me flexibility. Flexibility I thought was a gift. Turns out it was a curse in disguise. My wife, Vanessa, worked as a pharmaceutical sales rep. She traveled 3, sometimes 4 days a week, driving up and down the I-5 corridor, meeting doctors, schmoozing hospital administrators, pushing whatever new medication her company needed to move that quarter. The job paid well, better than mine, and she never let me forget it. Not directly. Vanessa was too smart for that. She'd say things like, "I'm just grateful one of us has a steady income," or "It's nice that you get to stay home and be creative." Always with a smile. Always with just enough sweetness that if I called her out, I'd look petty. Emma was in kindergarten at Maplewood Elementary, about 10 minutes from our house. She was shy, the kind of kid who hid behind my leg when strangers talked to her, who brought home drawings of rainbows and cats with too many legs. She had Vanessa's dark hair and my green eyes, and when she laughed, really laughed, it sounded like wind chimes. I lived for that sound. That Thursday, I picked Emma up from school at 3:30 like always. She climbed into her booster seat without a word, clutching her backpack against her chest. Usually, she'd chatter about her day, about what they had for snack time, or which kid got in trouble for talking during circle time. But that afternoon, she was silent. I glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "Hey, kiddo, how was school?" She stared out the window, her face blank. "Emma?" "Fine," she whispered. I didn't push. Kids have off days. Maybe she'd had a fight with a friend. Maybe she was tired. I pulled into our driveway, a narrow strip of cracked concrete leading to a modest 2-story house with peeling blue paint. Vanessa had been after me for months to repaint it, but I kept putting it off. Money was tight, and besides, I told myself, who cares what the house looks like as long as we're happy inside? Inside. That word feels poisonous now. Emma went straight to her room. I heard the door click shut, soft but deliberate. I stood in the hallway for a moment, listening. No sounds of playing, no humming, just silence. I told myself she needed space. Kids need space sometimes. I went back to my office and tried to focus on work, but my mind kept drifting. Something felt wrong, the way the air feels wrong right before a thunderstorm. Around 5, I went to check on her. I knocked gently. "Emma, you okay in there?" No answer. I opened the door. She was sitting on the floor, surrounded by crayons and sheets of white construction paper. Her head was bent, her small hands moving frantically across the page. She didn't look up when I came in. "What you drawing, sweetheart?" She froze, her shoulders tensed. Then, slowly, she turned to look at me. Her eyes were wet, red-rimmed, like she'd been crying and trying to hide it. "Daddy," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I made something for you." She held out a piece of paper, folded in half. Her hands were shaking. I took it, trying to smile. "Thank you, baby. Can I look at it?" She nodded, but she didn't smile back. She just watched me, her eyes wide and anxious, like she was waiting for something terrible to happen. I unfolded the paper. At first, I didn't understand what I was seeing. It looked like any other kindergarten drawing, stick figures, a house, a sun in the corner. But as my eyes adjusted, as I really looked, the details started to emerge. There were 3 stick figures, one tall with long black hair, one small with a triangle dress, and one even smaller, off to the side, with tears drawn as blue lines down its face. The tall figure, the one with black hair, was holding the small figure's arm. And above the small figure's head, Emma had drawn a red scribble. Not like a hat, not like hair, like something else, something violent. My stomach dropped. "Emma," I said carefully, "can you tell me about your picture?" She looked down at her lap, picking at the hem of her shirt. "That's Mommy," she said, pointing to the tall figure. "And that's Sophie. Sophie, the neighbor's daughter. She was 6, a year older than Emma. The two of them played together sometimes when Sophie's mom, Rachel, needed a babysitter. Vanessa would watch her for a few hours here and there. I thought it was nice, neighborly. And who's this?" I pointed to the smallest figure, the one with tears. Emma's chin trembled. "That's me." "Why are you crying in the picture, sweetheart?" She didn't answer right away. She just stared at the drawing, her little hands clenched into fists. "Because," she finally said, "Mommy gets really mad." My heart started to pound. Mad about what? "When we're loud, or when we don't listen. She says we're bad." I crouched down so I was at her level. "Emma, does Mommy yell at you?" She nodded. "Does she do anything else?" Her eyes filled with tears. She looked at the drawing again, at the red scribble above the small figure's head. "She hits," Emma whispered. The room tilted. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. "She hits you?" Emma nodded again, tears spilling down her cheeks. "And Sophie, but she says if we tell, something bad will happen. She says nobody will believe us because we're just kids." I pulled Emma into my arms, holding her tight while she sobbed into my shoulder. My mind was racing, my hands shaking. Vanessa, my wife, the woman I shared a bed with, the woman I'd built a life with. She was hurting our daughter, and I hadn't seen it. How had I not seen it? I held Emma until her crying slowed, until her breathing evened out. Then I pulled back and looked her in the eyes. "Emma, listen to me. You are not bad. You did nothing wrong. And I'm going to make sure you're safe, okay? I promise." She nodded, wiping her nose with the back of her hand. "I need you to stay in your room for a little bit, okay? Can you do that for me?" "Are you mad at me?" she asked, her voice small. "No, baby, I'm not mad at you. I'm proud of you for telling me." I kissed her forehead and left the room, closing the door gently behind me. Then I stood in the hallway, staring at the drawing in my hands. The red scribble, the tears, the smaller figure off to the side, alone. I walked to the kitchen, my legs feeling like they weren't my own. I set the drawing on the counter and stared at it. My phone was on the table. I picked it up, my hands still shaking. I didn't call Vanessa. I didn't text her. I didn't give her a chance to explain or lie or manipulate. I called the police. The dispatcher answered on the second ring. Her voice was calm, professional. 911, what's your emergency?" I opened my mouth, but for a moment, nothing came out. How do you say it? How do you put into words that the person you trusted most in the world is a monster? "I need to report child abuse," I finally said. "My wife has been hurting my daughter." There was a pause. "Are you in immediate danger, sir?" "No, she's not home right now. She's traveling for work." "Okay, I'm going to send an officer to your location. Can you stay on the line with me?" "Yes." "What's your address?" I gave it to her, my voice flat, mechanical. I felt like I was watching myself from somewhere far away. "An officer will be there in about 10 minutes. Are there any weapons in the home?" "No." "Is your daughter safe right now?" "She's in her room. She's okay." "Good. Just stay calm, sir. Help is on the way." I hung up and sat down at the kitchen table. The drawing was still in front of me. I stared at it until the lines blurred, until the stick figures didn't look like people anymore, just shapes on paper. But the red scribble was still there, bright, angry, unmistakable. 10 minutes felt like 10 hours. When the doorbell finally rang, I nearly jumped out of my skin. I opened the door to find two officers standing on my porch. One was a woman in her 40s with short gray hair and tired eyes. The other was a younger man, maybe early 30s, with a buzz cut and a notebook in his hand. "Mr. Alonzo?" the woman asked. "Yes." Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now, back to the story. I'm Officer Brennan, and this is Officer Kelly. May we come in? I stepped aside and let them in. They stood in the entryway, their eyes scanning the room like they were cataloging everything. The toys on the floor, the mail on the side table, the family photo on the wall, the one from last Christmas where we're all smiling. "You called about suspected child abuse?" Officer Brennan said. "Yes." I handed her the drawing. "My daughter drew this today. She told me her mother has been hitting her." Officer Brennan took the drawing and studied it. Her expression didn't change, but I saw something flicker in her eyes. Recognition, maybe? Or anger? "How old is your daughter?" she asked. 5. She's in kindergarten." "And where is your wife now?" "She's in Seattle for work. She won't be back until tomorrow night." Officer Kelly was writing in his notebook. "Has your daughter mentioned this before?" "No, not until today." "Has your wife ever been violent toward you?" "No, never." Officer Brennan handed the drawing to Officer Kelly. "We're going to need to speak with your daughter. Is she here?" "She's in her room." "Would it be okay if I talk to her alone? Sometimes kids are more comfortable without a parent present." I hesitated. Every instinct in me wanted to say no, to stay with Emma, to protect her. But I knew this was necessary. "Okay," I said. Officer Brennan gave me a small nod. "Can you show me where her room is?" I led her upstairs. Emma's door was still closed. I knocked softly. "Emma, there's someone here who wants to talk to you, okay? Her name is Officer Brennan, and she's really nice." I opened the door. Emma was sitting on her bed hugging her stuffed rabbit. When she saw the officer, her eyes went wide. "It's okay, sweetheart," I said. "She just wants to ask you a few questions. I'll be right downstairs." Officer Brennan smiled at Emma, the kind of smile that's meant to be reassuring but doesn't quite reach the eyes. "Hi, Emma. I like your rabbit. What's his name?" Emma didn't answer. She just held the rabbit tighter. I left them alone and went back downstairs. Officer Kelly was standing in the kitchen, looking at the drawing. "This is hard," he said, not looking up. "I know this is hard." I didn't respond. What was there to say? "We see this more than you'd think," he continued. "Parents who seem perfectly normal on the outside. Good jobs, nice houses, PTA meetings. And then we find out what's happening behind closed doors." "I should have known," I said, my voice breaking. "I should have seen it." Officer Kelly finally looked at me. "Don't do that to yourself. Kids are good at hiding things when they're scared, and abusers are good at making sure nobody sees." We stood in silence for a few minutes. Then Officer Brennan came back downstairs. Her face was grim. "She confirmed what she told you," she said quietly. "She said her mother has hit her multiple times. She also mentioned another child, a neighbor." "Sophie," I said, "the neighbor's daughter. We'll need to speak with that family as well. In the meantime, we're going to file a report and contact Child Protective Services. They'll open an investigation. What happens to Vanessa? That depends on the investigation. If there's enough evidence, the district attorney may press charges. In the meantime, I'd recommend getting a restraining order to keep your daughter safe." I nodded, numb. Officer Brennan handed me a card. "This is the number for CPS. They'll be in touch within 24 hours. If you need anything, or if your wife comes home early, call us immediately." "Okay." They left, and I stood in the empty kitchen staring at the drawing on the counter. The house felt too quiet, too big, like it was pressing in on me from all sides. I went upstairs and sat on the edge of Emma's bed. She was still holding her rabbit. "Are they gone?" she asked. "Yeah, baby, they're gone." "Am I in trouble?" "No, you're not in trouble. You did the right thing." She looked at me, her eyes so big and scared. "Is Mommy going to be mad?" I pulled her into my lap and held her close. "Mommy's not going to hurt you anymore, I promise." That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of the last 7 years, searching for signs I'd missed, red flags I'd ignored. There had to have been something, some clue, some warning. But there wasn't. Or maybe there was, and I just didn't want to see it. Vanessa called the next morning. I was making breakfast when my phone buzzed on the counter. Her name lit up the screen. I let it ring. She called again and again. On the 4th call, I answered. "Hey," she said, her voice bright and chipper. "Sorry I missed you yesterday. Crazy day. How's Emma?" I closed my eyes. "She's fine." "Good. Listen, I'm wrapping up early. I'll be home by tonight instead of tomorrow. Maybe we can order takeout? Emma loves that Thai place." "Vanessa," I said slowly, "we need to talk." There was a pause. "Okay, what's going on?" "Not over the phone. When you get home." "Rusty, you're scaring me. Is everything okay?" "Just come home." I hung up before she could say anything else. The rest of the day passed in a blur. A social worker from CPS came by in the afternoon. Her name was Linda, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She interviewed Emma again, this time with more detailed questions. She took photos of Emma's arms, where there were faint bruises I'd never noticed. Old bruises, fading but still visible. How had I not noticed? Linda told me the investigation would take time, weeks, maybe months. In the meantime, she recommended that Vanessa not have unsupervised contact with Emma. She gave me paperwork for an emergency custody order. "This will protect your daughter," Linda said, "but you need to file it today." I did. I went to the courthouse, filled out the forms, stood in front of a judge who looked at me with a mixture of pity and suspicion. By the time I got home, it was almost 6. Vanessa's car was in the driveway. My heart started to race. I sat in my car for a moment, gripping the steering wheel. Then I got out and walked inside. She was in the kitchen, unpacking groceries. She looked up when I came in, smiling. "Hey, I picked up stuff for dinner. I thought we could make pasta. Emma loves pasta." "Where's Emma?" I asked. "Upstairs. She said she wanted to play in her room." I nodded. "Vanessa, sit down." Her smile faltered. "What's going on?" "Sit down." She sat, slowly, her eyes never leaving mine. I pulled out the drawing and placed it on the table in front of her. "Emma drew this yesterday," I said. "Do you want to tell me what it means?" Vanessa looked at the drawing. Her face didn't change. No shock, no confusion, just a long, quiet stare. "It's a drawing," she finally said. "Kids draw things." "She told me you've been hitting her." Vanessa's jaw tightened. She looked up at me, and for the first time, I saw something cold in her eyes, something I'd never seen before. "She's 5, Rusty. She has an imagination." "She has bruises." Vanessa stood up, her chair scraping against the floor. "Are you seriously accusing me of hurting our daughter?" "I'm not accusing you. I'm telling you what she said, what the police saw, what CPS is investigating." Her face went pale. "You called the police? On me?" "Yes." "You bastard." Her voice was low, venomous. "You have no idea what you've done." "I know exactly what I've done. I protected my daughter." Vanessa laughed, sharp and bitter. "Protected her? From what? From me? I'm her mother." "You hit her."
"I disciplined her. There's a difference. She's 5 years old, and she needs to learn. She needs structure. You're too soft on her, Rusty. You always have been. Someone has to teach her how the world works." I stared at her, this woman I thought I knew, and realized I was looking at a stranger. "Get out," I said quietly. "What?" "Get out of this house, now. This is my house too." "Not anymore. I filed for an emergency custody order. You're not allowed to be around Emma without supervision." Vanessa's face twisted with rage. "You can't do that." "I already did." For a moment, I thought she was going to lunge at me. Her hands were clenched into fists, her whole body trembling. But then she grabbed her purse and stormed toward the door. She stopped in the doorway and turned back. "You're going to regret this," she said. "I'll make sure of it." Then she was gone. I stood in the empty kitchen, my hands shaking, my heart pounding. Upstairs, I heard Emma's door open. "Daddy?" she called out. "Is Mommy gone?" "Yeah, baby," I said, my voice cracking. "She's gone." I went upstairs and found Emma standing in the hallway, still holding her rabbit. "Are we safe now?" she asked. I knelt down and pulled her into my arms. "Yeah, sweetheart, we're safe." But even as I said it, I knew the truth. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. Vanessa wasn't the type to go quietly. She'd fight, she'd lie, she'd do whatever it took to win. And I had no idea what she was capable of. All I knew was that I'd just declared war on the woman I married, and there was no going back. The first night without Vanessa in the house felt like living in a museum. Everything was in its place, but nothing felt real. I made Emma mac and cheese from a box, the cheap kind with the neon orange powder that Vanessa never let me buy because it wasn't organic. Emma ate 3 bites and pushed the bowl away. "Not hungry, baby?" I asked. She shook her head, staring at the table. "Do you want to talk about anything?" She looked up at me with those wide green eyes, my eyes, and said something that made my chest ache. "Is Mommy coming back?" I set down my fork. "Not for a while, sweetheart. And when she does come around, I'll be right there with you. She won't be alone with you anymore." Did I make her go away? I got up and knelt beside her chair, taking her small hands in mine. "No, you didn't do anything wrong. Mommy made some bad choices, and now grown-ups are helping to make sure everyone is safe." She nodded, but I could see she didn't really understand. How could she? I barely understood it myself. That night, Emma refused to sleep in her own room. She clung to my arm with both hands, her breathing quick and panicked whenever I tried to leave. "Can I sleep in your bed tonight, Daddy?" "Of course you can." She fell asleep curled against my side, her rabbit tucked under her chin. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, listening to the house settle around us. Every creak sounded like footsteps. Every rustle of wind against the window sounded like someone trying to get in. Around 2 in the morning, my phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from Vanessa. "You're making a huge mistake. Emma needs her mother. You're confusing her." I didn't reply. Another text came through a minute later. "I know you think you're doing the right thing, but you're not. This is going to hurt her more than help her. Let me come home. We can work this out." I turned the phone face down and closed my eyes, but sleep wouldn't come. The next morning, I called my boss, a guy named Trevor who ran a small marketing agency out of his basement. I'd been doing contract work for him for the past 3 years, mostly web design and social media graphics. "Hey Trevor, I need to take some time off." There was a pause on the other end. "How much time?" "I don't know yet. A week, maybe 2. Family emergency. Everything okay?" "Not really, but I'm handling it." "All right, man. Let me know if you need anything." I appreciated that he didn't pry. Trevor was good like that. Kept things professional. Didn't ask questions he didn't need answers to. After I hung up, I made a list. Not a mental list, an actual list on paper, the way my dad used to do when he was trying to solve a problem. He'd always said that writing something down made it real, made it manageable. Find a family lawyer. Get copies of all financial records. Document everything Vanessa says or does. Talk to Rachel about Sophie. Keep Emma safe. The last one I underlined twice. By mid-morning, I'd found a lawyer. Her name was Diane Kerr, and her office was in a squat brick building near downtown Portland. Her website said she specialized in family law and custody cases. I called and explained the situation in broad strokes. She agreed to see me that afternoon. Before I left, I called Rachel, our neighbor. She picked up on the 3rd ring, her voice bright and unsuspecting. "Hey Rusty, what's up?" "Rachel, I need to talk to you about something. It's important." Her tone shifted immediately. "Okay, is everything all right? Can I come over? It's better if we talk in person." "Sure, I'm home all day." I asked my sister Claire to come watch Emma for a few hours. Claire lived 20 minutes away in Beaverton and worked night shifts as an ER nurse, so she was usually free during the day. She showed up within the hour, her face tight with concern. "You look like hell," she said when I opened the door. "Thanks. Emma okay?" "She's watching cartoons. She's okay for now." Claire stepped inside and pulled me into a quick hug. "Whatever you need, I'm here. I know." I walked next door to Rachel's house. She answered before I even knocked, like she'd been waiting by the window. Rachel was in her late 30s, a stay-at-home mom with 2 kids and a husband who traveled for work. She was the kind of neighbor who brought over cookies during the holidays and always waved when she saw you. "Come in," she said, stepping aside. We sat in her living room, a cozy space filled with family photos and toys scattered across the carpet. She offered me coffee, but I declined. "What's going on?" she asked, sitting across from me. I took a breath. Emma told me something a few days ago. Something about Vanessa. Rachel's face went still. What did she say? She said Vanessa has been hitting her, and Sophie. The color drained from Rachel's face. She didn't speak for a long moment, just sat there staring at me like I'd said something in a foreign language. "Sophie?" she finally whispered. "I'm sorry. I didn't know until Emma told me. I called the police. They're investigating." Rachel's hands started to shake. She pressed them against her knees, her knuckles going white. "Sophie never said anything. She never—" "Kids don't always tell," I said quietly. "They're scared, or they think no one will believe them." Rachel stood up abruptly and started pacing. "I need to talk to her. I need to talk to Sophie right now. The police might want to talk to her too. There's a social worker involved. Her name is Linda. I can give you her number." Rachel nodded, but I could tell she was barely holding it together. "How long has this been going on?" "I don't know. Emma didn't say." "Oh my God." Rachel sat back down, covering her face with her hands. "I let my daughter go over there. I thought Vanessa was nice. I thought she was safe." "So did I." We sat in silence for a while. Then Rachel looked up at me, her eyes red. "Thank you for telling me. I know this couldn't have been easy. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner." "You didn't know. None of us did. When I left Rachel's house, I felt like I'd been carrying a boulder uphill and someone had just taken half the weight. It wasn't relief, exactly. More like the grim acknowledgement that I wasn't alone in this. Diane Kerr's office smelled like old books and lavender air freshener. She was a tall woman in her 50s with silver hair pulled back in a neat bun and glasses that sat low on her nose. She shook my hand firmly and gestured to a chair across from her desk. "Tell me everything," she said, pulling out a legal pad. I did. I told her about Emma's drawing, about the police report, about CPS, about the bruises. I told her about Vanessa's reaction when I confronted her, the coldness in her eyes, the way she'd tried to flip it back on me. Diane listened without interrupting, taking notes in quick, precise strokes. When I finished, she set her pen down and leaned back in her chair. "This is going to be difficult," she said bluntly. "Custody battles involving abuse allegations always are. Vanessa will have her own lawyer, and they'll try to paint you as vindictive or controlling. They'll say you're using Emma as a pawn. I'm not. I believe you, but we need to be prepared for her to fight dirty. What do I need to do? First, document everything. Every interaction with Vanessa, every text, every email. Keep a journal of Emma's behavior, anything she says about her mother. Second, cooperate fully with CPS. The more helpful you are, the better you'll look. Third, don't badmouth Vanessa in front of Emma, no matter how angry you are. It'll backfire." I nodded, absorbing it all. "I'll file for sole custody," Diane continued. "Given the police report and the CPS investigation, we have a strong case. But it'll take time, months, maybe longer. Can you handle that?" "I don't have a choice." "Good, because this is going to get worse before it gets better." She was right. 2 days later, Vanessa filed a counterclaim. Her lawyer argued that I was an unfit parent, that I worked from home and was frequently unavailable, that I'd isolated Emma from her mother without cause. They requested joint custody with Vanessa as the primary custodial parent. Diane called me as soon as she got the paperwork. "She's claiming you fabricated the abuse allegations to gain an advantage in the divorce." "That's insane." "I know, but it's a common tactic. Don't engage with her. Don't respond to her texts or calls unless it's about Emma, and even then, keep it brief and factual." I followed her advice, but it was harder than I expected. Vanessa texted me constantly. Some messages were angry, accusing me of ruining her life. Others were sad, pleading, begging me to reconsider. "I miss Emma so much. Please let me see her. I'm her mother. She needs me, Rusty. You can't just take her away from me. You're being cruel. This isn't who you are." I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I forwarded them all to Diane. Emma started having nightmares. She'd wake up screaming, her sheets soaked with sweat, crying about monsters in her closet or shadows in the hallway. I'd hold her until she calmed down, whispering that she was safe, that I was there, that nothing was going to hurt her. But I knew the monsters she was dreaming about weren't imaginary. One night, about a week after Vanessa left, Emma woke me up at 3 in the morning. She was standing beside the bed, her rabbit dangling from one hand. "Daddy, I heard something." I sat up, instantly alert. "What did you hear?" "A car, outside." I got up and went to the window, pulling the curtain back just enough to see the street. There was a car parked across the road, a dark sedan with the engine running. I couldn't see who was inside, but I didn't need to. I grabbed my phone and took a picture of the license plate. Then I texted Diane. "Vanessa is outside the house. What should I do?" Her response came a minute later. "Call the police, document it, do not engage." I called the non-emergency line and explained the situation. A patrol car showed up 10 minutes later. By the time they arrived, the sedan was gone. The officer took my statement and said they'd increase patrols in the area. But there wasn't much else they could do unless Vanessa violated the restraining order by approaching the house. After he left, I checked every lock twice and set up my laptop in the living room so I could see the street from the window. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The harassment escalated. Vanessa started showing up at places she knew I'd be. The grocery store, Emma's school. Once, she followed me to Claire's house and sat in her car outside for an hour until Claire came out and told her to leave. Diane filed for a restraining order extension. The judge granted it, but Vanessa didn't care. She kept pushing, kept testing the boundaries. Then she went after my work. Trevor called me one afternoon, his voice tight with frustration. "Rusty, I got a weird email today. Someone claiming to be your wife saying you've been unstable, that you're not reliable, that I should reconsider working with you." My stomach dropped. "What did you tell her?" I didn't respond. "I'm not getting involved in your personal life, but I wanted you to know." "Thanks, Trevor. I appreciate it." "She also tried to call me. I didn't pick up." "Good, don't. And if she contacts you again, let me know." I forwarded the email to Diane. She added it to the growing file of evidence. CPS completed their investigation 3 weeks after I first called the police. Linda came to the house to deliver the results in person. She sat across from me at the kitchen table, her expression serious. "We've substantiated the abuse allegations," she said. "Based on Emma's testimony, the physical evidence, and corroborating statements from Sophie and her mother, we believe your daughter was subjected to physical abuse by Vanessa." I felt a wave of relief and nausea at the same time. Relief that someone believed Emma. Nausea that it was real, that it had actually happened. "What happens now?" I asked. "We're recommending that Vanessa's parental rights be restricted. She'll need to complete a parenting course and attend therapy before supervised visitation can be considered. The final decision will be up to the court." "Will Emma have to testify?" "Possibly. It depends on how Vanessa's lawyer proceeds. But we'll do everything we can to minimize Emma's involvement. She's been through enough." After Linda left, I sat in the kitchen for a long time, staring at the same spot on the wall. Substantiated. That word kept echoing in my head. It meant I'd done the right thing. It meant Emma was believed. But it also meant that the woman I married, the woman I'd loved, had hurt our daughter, and I hadn't seen it. That night, Emma and I made pizza from scratch. She stood on a stool beside me, her small hands covered in flour as she helped roll out the dough. She was smiling, really smiling, for the first time in weeks. "This is fun, Daddy," she said. "Yeah, kiddo, it is." We ate dinner on the couch, watching a cartoon about talking animals. Emma laughed at the silly voices, and I felt something loosen in my chest. Not peace exactly, but hope. The custody hearing was scheduled for mid-November, about 6 weeks after I'd first called the police. Diane prepared me for what to expect. Vanessa would be there with her lawyer. There would be testimony, evidence, cross-examination. It will be hard. She's going to try to make you look bad, Diane warned. She'll bring up every mistake you've ever made, every time you lost your temper or forgot to pack Emma's lunch. Don't take the bait. Stay calm, stick to the facts. I can do that. Good, because the judge is going to be watching both of you. The night before the hearing, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, running through everything in my mind. What I'd say, how I'd say it, what Vanessa might accuse me of. Around midnight, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You think you've won, but you haven't. I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of person you really are. I stared at the message, my heart pounding. Then I took a screenshot and sent it to Diane. Her response was immediate. Don't reply. I'll handle it. The courthouse was a gray concrete building downtown, all hard edges and fluorescent lights. I arrived early with Diane, my hands shaking as I signed in at the security desk. We waited in a small room with uncomfortable plastic chairs and a vending machine that hummed too loudly. Vanessa arrived 10 minutes later. She looked different, thinner. Her hair was shorter, cut into a severe bob. She wore a navy suit and pearl earrings, the picture of professionalism. She didn't look at me. The hearing lasted 4 hours. Vanessa's lawyer painted me as an overprotective father who'd blown a minor disciplinary action out of proportion. He called me controlling, said I'd manipulated Emma into making false accusations. Diane tore him apart. She presented the CPS report, the police statements, the photos of Emma's bruises. She entered the texts Vanessa had sent, the emails, the evidence of her stalking and harassment. She called Rachel as a witness, who testified that Sophie had confirmed the abuse after I told her what Emma said. Vanessa took the stand. She cried. She said she loved Emma, that she'd never hurt her, that I was trying to destroy her life out of spite. I'm not perfect, she said, her voice breaking, but I'm her mother. Emma needs me. When it was my turn to testify, I told the truth. I talked about Emma's drawing, about the fear in her eyes, about the bruises I'd missed. I talked about the nightmares, the way Emma flinched when someone raised their voice. I'm not trying to punish Vanessa, I said. I'm trying to protect my daughter. The judge listened to everything without expression. When both sides had finished, she said she'd issue a ruling within 2 weeks. We left the courthouse in silence. Diane walked me to my car. You did well in there, she said. It doesn't feel like it. That's normal. Now we wait. 2 weeks felt like 2 years. I went through the motions of daily life. I made Emma breakfast, took her to school, helped her with homework. But my mind was always somewhere else, running through worst-case scenarios. What if the judge didn't believe us? What if Vanessa got custody? What if Emma had to go back to her? I couldn't let myself think about it. The ruling came on a Wednesday. Diane called me at 9 in the morning. We won, she said. I sat down hard, my legs suddenly weak. What? The judge granted you sole legal and physical custody. Vanessa is allowed supervised visitation once a month, pending completion of a parenting course and psychological evaluation. I closed my eyes, letting the words sink in. She can't take her. No, she can't. Thank you, Diane. Thank you. You did this, Rusty. You protected your daughter. That took courage. After I hung up, I sat in the kitchen for a long time, staring at nothing. Emma was at school. The house was quiet, and for the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. That afternoon, I picked Emma up from school and took her to the park. We sat on the swings, pumping our legs in unison, the autumn air crisp and cool around us. Daddy, can I ask you something? Of course, baby. Are we going to be okay? I looked at her, this brave, beautiful little girl who'd been through so much, and I smiled. Yes, sweetheart, we're going to be okay. And I meant it. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.